Welcome to the Sales Master Series training from SalesDivvy. In this video, we'll talk about establishing cold call rapport by adapting your communication style to the style your prospect wants to hear. We'll discuss 4 common communication styles, how to tell which style someone is using, and strategies for matching your style to theirs. Let's get started. There are as many different communication styles as there are people in the world. But each of us tends to have a particular style of communication we use as a default. It's part of what makes us individuals. If you're naturally gifted at communicating with others, part of your gift is an intuitive understanding of where the other person is coming from. That knowledge leads to establishing rapport quickly. Whether or not you're especially gifted, you can improve your communication skills by being able to identify and complement other people's communication styles. Depending on circumstances, our communication styles vary. For example, your mood, the people you're with, your environment, the time of day, stress levels, all play a part in how we communicate. And there are thousands of other variables. But in focusing on how people communicate during sales calls, these variables are vastly reduced. You will likely be reaching people in their work mode, at their desk, and with all the trappings of their working role in play. So we can expect that an individual will have a consistent style when they receive a sales call. If you can quickly identify the communication style your prospect is using, you can learn to instantly shape your style of communication to complement theirs. You can make a pleasing connection with your prospect, and you can establish a real rapport. Doesn't it make sense that a complementary communication style makes your prospect more comfortable? Note that we say complementary. You're not imitating the communication style. You're choosing to communicate in a manner that makes the prospect most comfortable. And this makes the prospect more open to your message. Seems complicated? Well, hang in there. It's not. There are really only 2 things you need to do. Identify the style your prospect is using, and use a few simple tactics for adapting your message. While we've said there are millions of communication styles, let's simplify it by categorizing. We're going to put people into 4 categories based on elements of their communication style in an effort to measure how they might behave on an initial call. Of course, all this will change as your relationship with your prospect develops. The 4 categories are the driver, the analyst, the amiable, and the expressive. The top to bottom axis of our chart measures how responsive the prospect is likely to be. Will their communications be open and emotionally engaged, or will they be more closed and reserved? On the side-to-side axis, we're trying to understand if this person is in a leadership mode or a following mode. Are they in decision-making mode or a decision-seeking mode? The farther to the right on this chart, the more likely the person is to be telling others what to do. The further to the left means they're expecting someone else to tell them what to do. If someone is in the mode of being reserved and telling, we say that the person is using a driver style of communication. Someone perhaps more passive, but still reserved, is categorized as using an analytic style. An amiable communication style is passive and asking, and is more likely to seek out an emotional connection with people. When we speak to someone using an expressive style, they may be more dominant, but still seek emotional and personal interaction. We'll talk more about each of these styles and strategies, but first, let's talk about how to quickly identify who you're speaking with when you're making a sales call. Add this magic question to your introduction. Do you have a minute? For instance, I might say, "This is Eric from SalesDivvy. Do you have a minute?" The response to this question will give you a very good indication of the communication style your prospect wants to use. Remember that the driver is a person who is in the decision-making and telling mode. They will make a decision right away or try to get information in order to make that decision. They might say, "No, I don't." Or more typically, they might respond with, "What do you want?" They're making a decision. That's good. You've just identified their style. An analytic will frequently make an excuse why they can't talk. "I'm going to a meeting," or "I'm expecting a call." A poor salesperson will ignore this excuse and start the pitch, which will go absolutely nowhere and sour your future chances. With an amiable, by saying, "Do you have a minute?" you've just asked them to make a decision, and it may be stressful. But if you sound friendly, They may let you go a little farther with a non-committal answer. An expressive will often try to make a connection with you or your company, such as saying, "Oh, I know your company very well," or "I knew someone with your last name. Do you know so-and-so?" By doing this, they are skillfully sending the conversation in the direction they want it to go. Asking a question is a simple tool for identifying the style your prospect is using. Let's talk about ways to use that information to form a faster and stronger connection on the phone. Let's start by talking about the driver. Typically, bosses or senior managers use a driver communication style. It signals that you're speaking with someone who likes to be in control and make decisions, and is very goal-oriented. Perhaps not as touchy-feely as other people, the driver wants to just get it done, whatever it is. Remember, they are reserved emotionally and are in a telling mode. They want to be in charge. Your communication strategy with a driver will be to get right to the point, no beating around the bush and no small talk. Demonstrate immediately that you're not about to waste their time. Speak directly and clearly with crisp, short sentences. Ask directly for a decision or ask them to tell you what to do. "What would you like me to do next?" is an irresistible hook for a driver. Someone using an analyst communication style is likely cautious about making decisions, and especially cautious about opening up to a stranger on the phone. Working slowly and methodically is a point of pride, and appearing to be right is extremely important. You'll need to be patient with an analyst. It may take many interactions before you can get close enough to have an open conversation. Don't talk about feelings or big concepts. Stay with practical statements about why your product or service is the best. If you can prove yourself an expert in your field, you'll connect by helping the analytic get what they want, which is hard data. It's difficult to get an analyst excited about pie-in-the-sky concepts. In fact, that type of discussion will likely hurt you with an analyst. Your best bet is to stick to the facts. Amiables are just that: friendly, open, and easy to get along with. A person using this communication style is not looking to take a risk, make tough decisions, or get outside the box. They are easy to like, and they want you to like them. It's all good, except that people who use this communication style are not usually initiators in an organization. You'll need to get around or over them to reach a decision maker. Your strategy in communicating with an amiable is to reflect easygoing, low-stress speaking patterns. Avoid being loud or coming across aggressive. You can enlist their help easily if you make small requests and let them warm up to the idea of helping you, which means ultimately having them introduce you to someone who can make a decision to buy from you. Expressives are often charismatic leaders with big personalities and high self-esteem. They use emotional connections to get things done and are not afraid to make decisions. You have a short window to get a positive reaction from an expressive. It's time to be energetic, full of emotion and excitement. Throw in some personal facts, and even ask some personal questions. You're speaking the language of a confident expressive. The best way to get an expressive to the next step is to tell stories about people who have already bought from you. Talk about the good things that happen, and don't get into a list of features. Finally, ask them straight up for their advice on how to sell to their company. They'll be happy to tell you, and will likely be honest if there is no opportunity. To recap, establishing rapport is easier if you first identify the communication style your prospect is using. Asking the magic question, "Do you have a minute?" is a great way to get a quick indication of where the other person is coming from. When you understand the style of the person you're speaking with, use these simple strategies for getting off on the right foot and establishing a real connection. Ask a driver for a decision. Show an analyst that you have information. Tell an amiable what small steps you want them to take. And ask an expressive for advice, help, and guidance on selling to their company. Using these techniques will help you establish real rapport with prospects while cold calling or on routine sales calls. See more of our sales training videos by visiting www.salesdivvy.com or checking out our YouTube channel. If you don't have a SalesDivvy account yet, get a free account, fill in your buyer profile, and see who wants to share leads with you.